Welcome back, everybody, to this week's bonus episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel. And Sam, I feel like we needed a lead-in song. Like, we needed like the whole Incredicoaster lead-in, like something with "Baby Be Mine." I don't know, because we're going to be
Jack
talking.
Jack.
Where are all my infants at out there today? Write us
we're
in.
talking about babies.
Right. That's right, because we're going to talk about
baby talk.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about It's a Small World, right?
That's right. We're not actually going to talk in baby talk, though. Just to be clear, I'm not going to talk in baby talk for the show, but we are going to be talking about babies and what one does with a baby on a Disney cruise. And we have to be completely candid that we never sailed with Nathan when he was an infant. So we have no personal experience of bringing a child on board that is under 3 years old. And so we have an expert with us. He has his own blog. It's called secondstartotheright.com.
No. Seconddadtotheright.com.
Sorry, Second Dad to the Right. And we literally just said this, and I was just reading his blog, seconddadtotheright.com. Welcome the dad from seconddadtotheright.com. Alex, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm really excited to talk about it. For those of you listening to us, we'll probably try to put this out as video too, but Alex is wearing just the most on-point t-shirt you could be wearing for this episode right now. It's like, is it Jack and like it's like the Nirvana album cover, Jack, and I love it. I love everything about it. So there you go.
It's a private goal of mine to find the most random, awesome shirts.
I like that goal.
It is a random, awesome shirt. It is quite perfect. Yeah.
So, Alex, we always like to start with our guests' Disney cruising background and Disney background. So tell folks how what your experience is with Disney Cruise Line, the parks, how you got into blogging about the parks, and yeah.
Okay. So, I want to say December 2017, I wanted to run the 3 Spartan races, which is like an obstacle course race. And they've got like a 5K one, a 10K one, and then a 15K one. And the 15K one was in Tampa, and the other 2 were in Atlanta, where I live. And so the only way I was going to get there was I told my wife, I said, I'll take you to Disney for 2 days if you'll come let me run this race. And she said, sure. Yeah, we'll do that. And it turned out to be a trip with not just her, but also my 2 daughters and my mother-in-law and my grandmother-in-law. And we went to Disney for like 6 days straight. And then I had to run the race on the last day and then drive home.
Oh my God. Now that's like a marathon within itself, right? I was
getting 25,000 steps. I got about 32,000 steps in the race, about 25,000 steps every day in the park. So it was almost good training, because I was running with the stroller from line to line. Because I was back when fast passes, you had a fast pass that started at 11:30 and one that started at 12. And so I would have to sprint to the next ride. And then, so we did that, made a couple trips, and then I got super into Disney. I mean, I'll be honest, like the race was pretty much an afterthought after that. And then we were like, hey, if we want a Disney cruise, it's like the Disney parks, but it's relaxing. So we actually went on the Disney Wonder in February of 2020.
Right before the shutdown.
I mean, literally, some people who did back-to-backs from the Facebook group let us know that like a whole bunch of cast members and everybody got sick in Mardi Gras like the next week. And so everything shut down. So we were like either the last or the second to last trip out of New Orleans for however long before they opened it back up. So it was, and it was an amazing experience. And then we've done 3 more cruises since then. We did 2 on the Fantasy, and then we just did the Magic in April. Right, I'm really good at doing things right before things happen. I think I was on the last cruise before they dry docked.
That's right. You got to see, well, not the original Magic, because the original Magic has gone through dry dock before, but at least, you got one more time on the Magic before all the upgrades happen. So, and some people would say the upgrades weren't all that upgraded. So there you go. Well, Alex, I'm curious. First, I got to start off by saying anyone out there who chooses to take a child under 3 on board a cruise, like kudos to you. I couldn't do it. I would not have had the patience as a parent to get that done. So kudos to you, Alex, as well.
I can vouch for that, by the way. Brian would not have had the patience to take Nathan on a cruise when he was under 3. Yeah.
No, I would not have. I would not have had that level of patience. But Alex, why don't we step back and start by helping people understand how the It's a Small World nursery orients in with the rest of the kids' offerings? Like, what's the ages and what's just the sort of general experience like for It's a Small World nursery as compared to maybe some of the other kids' club offerings on board?
Gotcha. So the It's a Small World, first of all, is the only one that costs money. And it's I consider it nominal considering how much the cruise costs. I mean, you're paying $9 an hour, which is less than we pay our babysitters at home, and you're getting this unbelievable care with, just great cast members and characters are coming to visit them. I mean, the money it's immaterial, but the It's a Small World it's ages 6 months to 3 years, and 6 months is the earliest you can take a child on a cruise, unless it's one of the I think the transatlantic ones that are you have to be a year, or maybe the ones that go around through the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
But so we took our son. I mean, we took our son at right after 6 months, and there's a funny reason for that. And then we also took him right just at like 13 months. But it's you've got the infant care and toddler care at It's a Small World up until 3 years, and then they move up to the Oceaneer stuff, and they can stay there till 12. But of course, you also have the 11 and 12-year-olds at is Edge, and then Vibe for the teenagers. And now I guess on the Wish they have like a special 1820 hideaway thing.
Right. Well, they have the 1820 Society on all the ships, but on the Wish they do have a space, the hideaway, that it's not exclusively for the 18 to 20-year-olds, but they do a lot of their events in the 18 to 20
but they'll judge you
in the
if you
hideaway
walk
space.
in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think they use it a lot because it's right next door to Vibe. They use it a lot for the teens as well.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's a really cool space. So how much is it per hour for the It's a Small World nursery?
So for whatever reason on the website, they want you to know how much it costs per half an hour. I guess maybe that's the increments you book in, but it's $4.50 for half an hour. So it's, in my head, that's $9 an hour. And which is way cheaper than childcare just about anywhere. We pay our babysitter a little bit more than that. And so,
well, I will tell you, we're in the Seattle area. We pay babysitters about $20 an hour. So
we do about 15, but we visited some friends in Fresno, that were like, you can't do it for under 20.
Yeah. And I will say, like, we only have one kid, so that like tells you we're paying $20 an hour for one kid. Like, we have friends who have 2 or 3 kids; they're paying between $25 and $30 an hour because they're paying more. For
y'all should come to Atlanta because we do 15 for 3 kids.
Yeah, apparently.
I remember when my dad was $2 a ride home and a McDonald's dinner for the babysitter. So yeah. And so that's a good question about the It's a Small World nursery. If you have multiple kids, is it $4.50 per half hour per child, or is there?
They prorate it down. I want to say down to $4. I mean, I don't even know why they bother. It's kind of like the 3 to 9-year-old at the parks. It's like they take like 50 cents off per hour for an extra kid. We only have one that age. We have a 1-year-old, and then we have 2 daughters that are 7 and 9 now.
Okay.
And so that's why we took a baby on the cruise to begin with, because we were already fully entrenched and we are Disney people. We go to Disney for our vacations, and then all of a sudden we have our pandemic surprise, and we're like, well, he's coming with us.
That's right. Well, and the girls are both going to Oceaneers Club and Oceaneers Lab, and so you gotta do something with the little one too.
Now, and let me hold on, Sam. Let me go back to one thing we said earlier just to clarify it. So for the minimum age requirements, 6 months, you're right, across the board for most sailings. But those itineraries that require 1 or older are now listed on the website as the South Pacific, Transatlantic, Hawaii, and Panama Canal repositioning cruises. So those much lengthier cruises seem to require at least 1 year old. And also probably those are the cruises that are sailing out in the middle of the ocean for long periods of time. So yeah. Go ahead, Sam.
So I was going to ask Alex, what about booking, or how does booking work for the Small World Nursery? I know that there's some amount of booking you can do in advance, but I have no idea how much and whether or not that is actually sufficient.
As far as the way it worked in April, and everything keeps changing, so I don't want to say that I'm definitive on this because, even as much as, when we went a year ago, we were worried that it wasn't even going to be open. But basically, you get 10 hours that you can reserve, just like you would reserve a cabana or an excursion. So whatever class castaway level you are, if you're platinum or concierge, you can do it 120 days, and then if your first time is 75 days. And so you get those 10 hours, which freaked me out because I thought that was it. And so then we get there and you find out that you can book as many as you want after that. So everybody gets their 10 hours that you try to fill in, and you want to get those early because you want those prime time. Some people all want them at dinner time because they're going to Palo, or they just don't want the baby at the dining table. Or they want them during the shows, or they, want them. Maybe they want them at 7 or 8 in the morning so they can take a nap. I don't know. We really
what do you guys find are for your family, the most important times to get coverage?
We like doing it right after lunch. So that's kind of like we're slow risers. So we get up and we get breakfast and just kind of mill around with the whole family. Then finally everyone kind of wakes up around lunchtime, and our kids go off to the Oceaneer lab or club. And then if we can get him off to the nursery, then we have like a couple hours to ourselves. And then we also like doing it right after. We always do the early dinner. That's a good thing for parents to know. From what I understand with if you have a baby and you request the early dining, you pretty much get it no matter what. If you've got the baby in your party. And that's worked out for us twice. Both times when we went to check in, we had the late dining. And as soon as we requested early dining, we got it, even on our last cruise, which was really full. Nice. I don't know if that, I don't want to say that definitely happens, but that's definitely the word on the street is that if you got an infant, they'll definitely give you the early dining. And so we would take him. That
makes sense to prioritize. Yeah.
Yeah. So we would take him to dinner, but then we would take him to the nursery for the shows, and just, and sometimes we would try him at the shows, and then if he got fussy, then we would take him there, or if he just got loud or bored. But sometimes the shows just completely captivate their attention, and especially if it's something on deck with all the fireworks or the loud shows, we'll try to have him in there for that. And then any other times you can kind of just play it by ear. So what I always recommend to people is as soon as you get on the boat, go straight there and try to get the rest of the hours you want, because everyone else is doing that too. That's the only, I would never go near guest services if I didn't have to when you first get on the boat, because it's always slammed, but I'll always race to It's a Small World Nursery just to try to get those spots in. A couple other things you can do is you can book childcare for an excursion. So if your family wants to go on an excursion, they don't take anyone under 7 or anyone under 9, whatever the rules are for the particular excursion, they'll watch them. And even if they're booked up, if you have an excursion, you get in no matter what.
Nice.
And they don't do that automatic for Castaway Key, but you can also have the baby stay on the boat for Castaway Key for part of it, or all of it, depending on what you want.
Are they open then during the whole day at Castaway Key? And the reason I ask that is because I know that the Oceaneers Club and Lab are not typically open for the whole day. They're open, I think, part of the day, but because they have a kids club on the island, they don't have it completely open on the ship the whole day.
I don't know the exact hours, but it's pretty much the whole day, because they don't have anything like that on the island.
Right.
And of course, babies, you have to be a lot more careful with sun care and dehydration and that kind of stuff. And so But yeah, we definitely had him in the nursery for most of the time that we were on Castaway Cay in April.
Wow. And do you know the hours are on like let's say a C day, for example, like what time they open in the morning and what time they stay open till at night?
When I wrote that piece on it, it was actually kind of hard to find, but from what I can tell, it's 8 a.m. to midnight.
Wow.
I think before COVID, they would even stay open till 1 in the morning. But yeah, it's 8 a.m. to midnight because with babies, they sleep in the childcare. I mean, it's not like your 5-year-old is going to be up till midnight. If it's an infant, like you can actually tell them, you say, put them to sleep, and they'll let you dictate that. And they'll do the nap time for you. Or if the child's tired, unless you specifically told them not to, they'll put them down for a nap.
Wow.
And I've heard that they'll keep them potentially beyond your booked hours if they're sleeping. Like they will not wake a baby up for you to have to take them out. Have you heard that?
I haven't. First of all, my son is terrible about napping at daycare, or he doesn't do well if other people are running around. He's just like, he wants to be in the middle of it.
He's stimulated,
and he'll crash later.
Yeah.
But so I didn't run into that. I imagine that's possible. I don't know how they would. I've never had a time where. I mean, I guess that's not true. There's been a couple times where they absolutely were like, you have to come pick them up right on time because we're full. It was usually on a C day right before a show starts. Okay. Which was fine because we were usually picking them up to take them to dinner anyway. But usually they're not full, and they'll keep them, but they'll charge you.
Right.
If you just leave them in there, they're like, okay, just a reminder, your time's up. We're charging you extra now. But yeah.
What's the extra fee?
I mean, it's just the hourly rate. Nothing.
Gotcha. Okay. So not like a penalty fee, like a per minute fee.
No penalty. Just once you start that next, I get 30 minutes.
Next half hour.
Royal Caribbean had like a penalty fee for their kids club. Like if you didn't pick them up by a certain time and they were closing, like this was a time when the kids club was otherwise going to be closed.
I never
charging by
the
minute.
I imagine there's probably, I don't know if it's a financial penalty or you're not allowed to use the nursery if you're just leaving the kid in there long after close. Yeah. They probably hunt you down with the app.
Probably. They'll probably GPS location you with the new Magic Bands or Disney Band Pluses. So I'd love to know some of the logistics of when you have your child in It's a Small World nursery, like feeding and diapering. And do you need to bring their food with you, or do they have, formula that you can use or puree foods that you can use, like those kinds of logistics?
So you do need to bring your own diapers, bring your own wipes. And then with food, they have a few things that they will give if you let them. They've got milk, juice, and water, and yogurt, and I want to say animal crackers, something like that. It just says crackers. I assume it's animal crackers. Could be saltines. I don't know. And so you got this long sheet. That's one thing I would want to warn parents is that there's a lot to fill out when you drop off your kid. And so if you're sprinting to get to a show, like you better be ready to at least sit there for 2 or 3 minutes and fill it all out. You got to say, this is when I want them to nap. This is when I want them to eat. This is what I want them to eat. And then you can bring prepackaged sealed foods. Mm-hmm. You can't bring something that's already open. You can't bring just like a half-eaten bag of Cheez-Its or something like that. It has to be sealed. You have to give them a spoon, and they'll do that, or they'll give them stuff that they've got. I think they got bananas too. I think so they've got like a fruit and drinks and crackers and yogurt.
Nice. What about formula or breast milk?
You'd have to bring your own.
You'd have to, I imagine they don't give you their own breast milk.
If there was one cruise ship that would, it would be Disney.
Right,
you have to get into international waters first.
They would have a wet nurse in international waters.
Next level.
But yeah, they will. I assume they'll give your child that if you bring it ready to go.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, because that wouldn't be factory sealed. But yeah, you provide that milk wise or formula. I imagine the formula is not mixed already. You give them a powder or a can or something. I think that's what we did. We had a can that we gave them for our first cruise, but then he was already transitioned to whole milk that they could provide for the rest of the cruise.
Well, that's super helpful.
So it's limited there, but what's amazing, I don't know if you guys want me to go into it, but the dining what they can do for babies dining is insane.
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear what they do. So we're talking in the main dining room,
Yes.
not in It's a Small World nursery. Yeah, we'd love to know what they do for infants.
So the first night you get there, they'll puree anything on the menu. So if you want your kid to have Percets and animator, you can get them to grind on it. But
Josh?
usually,
if you have another baby, Josh, and you want to bring them and have them make them try truffle Percets, you can.
You can get it all pureed.
Yeah. Shout out to Josh in Bellingham, Washington.
In fact, they'll do it for adults probably too. But if he wants a smoothie, I knew that was a thing for y'all.
I love it. I love it.
But so usually we pick one of the vegetables on the menu and puree it. But then if there's something specific that they like, you tell them and they'll do it every night. So for instance, we discovered just by chance that Asher loved butternut squash soup.
I mean,
and
who doesn't?
Literally,
love
they brought it out to him
soup?
every night, and he would just devour it. But they'll puree anything. They puree strawberries, they puree green beans, they puree chicken. They mix it all together if you wanted them to. And so, like, they just had this. I mean, it was amazing.
Smoothie.
So you could try all sorts of new foods, and I mean, I felt like it was almost more options for them than it was the kids. You know, kids ordering pizza not on the menu too. But our kids are picky.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay, well, I feel like we have to talk about like the fun stuff that the babies and the toddlers are doing in It's a Small World nursery. Like, do they have, I mean, as much as you can have organized activities for babies and toddlers, do they have activities that they sort of regularly do with the kiddos in there?
So part of it is it's a lot of self-driven. So they've just got toys everywhere, and if a kid sees that they'll play with the kid with that toy. Trying to get them to do stuff together doesn't usually work. Because I think they watch movies, and then they'll have some maybe like a dance time, and then they'll have characters come in and see them. And I thought it was really funny that he was not excited to see Mickey because he loved Mickey. In fact, I'm pretty sure "Oh boy" were his first words.
Oh my goodness, that's so awesome!
Like he doesn't know what Mickey is. He just goes, "Oh boy," every time he sees him. Like a picture of him on his wall or something. So, but yeah, so they do that. But again, kids are coming in and out, and it's not like the Oceaneer Club where you can like get them all
they're not
together
doing Gaga ball in the middle of the club, right? Of course not. Yeah. Well, that sounds fun though. Yeah, I will say we've gotten a chance to go into It's a Small World nursery on several of the ships just during open house hours, and it really is a beautiful space. I would say the Wish space is even more beautiful. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it is all of them are Mary Blair themed, but as you said, I think in your blog post, Alex, the ones on we'll call them the 4 original ships, the first 4 ships are all really It's a Small World ride Mary Blair themed, whereas the Wish has other IP, other Disney IP, but themed in like a Mary Blair way. Right? Am I getting that right?
So I mean, first of all, I'm second dad to the right. So they got the Peter Pan on the door at the Wish, I think. And then they've got like Marvel characters that look like It's a Small World. So I think it's pretty cool. I'd like to have a shirt that has all those on it.
Yeah. I think that would actually it's really fun theming. I thought it was beautiful. And they had like a train up top over like the TV in the one on the Wish. I thought it was amazing. I
haven't been on the Wish yet, but it looks like the Oceaneer stuff is way next level compared to the other ships too.
It is. The theming. I think the theming in all the kids' spaces really is just next level. I think Edge and Vibe are pretty similar to what they are as far as theming on the other ships. But the spaces are really beautiful and modern and updated. So, but yeah, the Oceaneers Club and It's a Small World nursery are just, I think, incredible spaces. Yeah. So I feel like we need to talk a little bit about what one does with a baby on board a Disney cruise in general, right? Like, okay, when you don't have Asher in It's a Small World nursery, what kinds of things are you doing around the ship? Because there are some spaces that are more probably baby friendly and other spaces that are probably less baby friendly.
Well, he and we could talk about this in a second. He hasn't been walking on yet. He hadn't started walking, which will play into Jack. But uh, so he just stayed in the stroller, and he's pretty chill. He's not like real fussy and needing to get out and do stuff. He is now, but so
Right.
if we go again, we're looking to go again soon. We'll see how that goes. But
Yeah.
he enjoys all the sights, all the sounds. This you've got the little splash pad that each cruise ship has, because you're not. I thought this was strange because at the resorts you can take a baby in a diaper, in a swim diaper, into the pools, but not on the cruise ships. I guess because it's so much smaller, they could contaminate a whole lot more.
Well, it's because they don't use chlorine in the pools.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so the pool deck pools, they're using salt water,
Okay.
and so it's it's naturally chlorinated in that sense, but it's not chlorinated, so it's not killing poop bacteria, and so that's why
Okay.
they don't allow babies. And it's not just Disney; it's all the cruise lines have the same thing because none of them are using.
And also, stomach bugs on cruise ships are a much bigger deal than they are on land.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. So they want to keep the poop out of the pool, which you can understand. But yeah, it does limit you. Yeah, it does limit what you can do with a baby on the pool deck. But you're right. There's the Dory and the Nemo splash pads, and then on the Wish there's it's a Toy Story themed splash pad, and they're beautiful. They're really great.
Yeah, and they're great. But I don't think he's even allowed in the bigger splash pads like the Huey, Dewey, Louie thing. But he loves it. He played with those. I mean, he's basically at this point in his life just sitting in a stroller, watching stuff, crawling around, being excited about seeing stuff, and then sleeping, half the day. So, and then if you really need to get him to move around, you don't want to be out in the sun. I think I mentioned this in a different blog post, but you can just set him loose in the atrium when no one's in there. I mean, that's a wide open space that they keep super well vacuumed.
Yeah.
I posted an Instagram post of like, my daughters and I were throwing paper airplanes off the balcony, and we were the only ones in there. Like this was like 2:00 in the afternoon.
It does get pretty empty, especially like on a port day. Frankly, port days are probably the best for the atrium because it's just completely dead, kind of midday. Yeah. Now, have you gotten to check out with Asher? I know they do some hours in the morning. I know on the Magic and the Wonder, they open up Andy's room. I think they do it on the Fantasy and the Dream. I know on the Wish they open up. They have it's a Mickey and Minnie themed play area. It's like Captain Mickey, Captain Minnie. They open that up for toddlers and infants for kind of big chunks of time. And they call it open house hours, but it is really geared towards those younger cruisers. Have you guys gotten to experience playing in those spaces?
we took him in there, both cruises that we went on the Fantasy, we took him in there, and he wasn't crawling yet when we took him there. He was only 6 months or 7 months old then. So we took him in there, just like we would set him in Andy's toy box and take a picture of him because he was in his Buzz Lightyear onesie.
Oh my God.
And then on the Magic, he could crawl, so we would have like one of the older sisters would hold him and go down the Slinky Dog slide.
So cute.
And so that was fun. It was crazy crowded in there. I mean, the open house was packed, so it was a little bit hard to maneuver in there because, like I said, we went spring break, so I think it was a completely full sailing. But yeah, so yeah, we've definitely gone in there with him a good bit.
Nice.
And I like the smaller the Magic and Wonder kids clubs better because they've got that awesome
that
Toy
slide.
Story area.
Yeah, I agree. That Andy's room on the Magic and the Wonder is way better than Andy's room on the Dream and Fantasy. I will highly, highly, highly recommend for folks with real young kids to go on the Wish, because that Captain Mickey and Captain Minnie space that they have, that they do open up actually a lot more than the other spaces for open house hours, specifically for the toddlers and infants. It's just a really beautiful space, and it's got very like infant and toddler appropriate kind of climbing things. When I say climbing things, we're talking very low to the ground stuff. Nothing where there's like a tall slide or anything. They're like those, if you think of like the splash pads at some of the resorts that are aimed for the really, really little kids, they're like that, but not obviously with water.
He did manage to give himself a goose egg by climbing up on top of a chair, and they gave him one. They get certificates and he got one called the parkour baby. Even though he wasn't even walking yet, he was trying to climb everything.
He was climbing.
Yeah.
Listen, our son Nathan was climbing before he was walking. He was climbing. We lived in a townhouse when he was little, and at he was about 7 months old. He started climbing up the stairs. Now he couldn't get down the stairs, but he was climbing up the stairs of our townhouse, and they were quite steep, and we were kind of terrified.
Terrified.
Yeah, couldn't walk. Could barely crawl, now, but could climb. Yeah,
he tries to turn around and go back down, and just it's terrifying.
Yeah, terrifying. Absolutely. Now we have to get to like the highlight of babies on cruise ships, because we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Jack's Diaper Dash. Alex, I know that Asher has competed in this amazing, competitive, wonderful experience on Disney Cruise Line. But why don't you tell our listeners who haven't maybe been on, tell us what's Jack's Diaper Dash?
So Jack's Incredible Diaper Dash is they roll out this track. I think it's 20 feet long. They roll out this mat across the atrium. I don't know how they do it. I think they have a new space that they do it in on the Wish. But in the 4 original ships, they've got the atrium, and it's there was probably 150, 200 people watching across, you've got the atrium floor, and then you got the 2 balconies, and it was just packed. They're using all sorts of light effects to make this feel like a boxing match and announcing
it's like a Thunderdome, I think.
They're interviewing us, what'd you do to prepare? Kinds of stuff like that. And
what's your training plan? What are you feeding the kid?
Plan is that he wants to get away from me and he wants to go back to mom. That's what I told him.
Now they do it in the Hero Zone on the Wish, so you're correct. They don't do it in the Grand Hall on the Wish, and it's a better space for that event on the Wish because the atrium's bigger. I'm sorry?
I think they do 2 of them on the Wish too, which is even more incredible because it's a shorter cruise.
They might, because there are quite a few babies on most Wish cruises. I will say we were on the Wish Maiden Voyage, and there were only 2 babies on the entire ship. And so it was a head-to-head competition for Jack's Incredible Diaper Dash. It was the quickest I've ever seen that competition go.
Yeah. So, yeah, there were a lot of babies on this cruise because, like I said, it was packed. But I guess there weren't as many as you normally would because it was spring break for schools, so there was a lot of kids. So he only competed against 4 kids.
That's not bad.
But
yeah, sometimes they have multiple heats because there's so many babies on board.
Yeah,
now,
so how did he? Heats of 2.
Okay. So, and how did he do?
So in the first heat, they took off, and he just went straight to mom, and the other kid went about halfway, and then tried to crawl under the rope to get to his sister, and then kind of looked like he took a nap. And Asher never lost focus. Actually, that's not true. He sat up for a second, and everyone was like, "No!" And then he finished the race and won. But the best part, and I sent you the video. The best part is that at this point, he doesn't do it anymore. But now, if I'm holding him by his stomach like he's flying like Superman, he spazzes his limbs out like this. And so he was just like, and everyone was just dying laughing. 200 people were cheering. And then as soon as I set him down, he just took off to get, because mom and both sisters were all waiting for him at the other side.
Oh my God.
And so he didn't hesitate. And then the second time he did it again. And our competitor made a mistake by letting mom release the baby. And so the baby just turned around and held on to mom's leg.
Mom.
And Asher did not care about me. He wanted to get to his mom. And so,
baby.
And so I am the proud father of the Disney Magic April 1st to 5th or whatever dates we were there. Jack's Incredible Diaper Dash champion.
Oh my goodness.
I was a little disappointed we didn't get to keep one of the stuffed animals, so we bought one when we got home. But we got a medal, and then I've got the sticker that he competed with that they put on his back. It's on the back of my laptop.
Oh, I love that. Now, which medal did you get? Did you get one of the original Mickey medals or one of the new medals?
It's a Mickey plastic.
Does it say winner on it?
I think it says winner, yeah.
Yeah, so those are the original Mickey. Well, I don't know if original is the right term, but those are the ones they've been giving out for years. They have some new ones that they have launched and we've seen around some of the ships, but they haven't made their way, I feel like, everywhere and not for every competition.
They
but
probably
those
got
Mickey
them in dry dock. I missed it by 1 week.
Yeah, probably.
I'll bring it with me, see if I can trade it in on my next cruise.
Listen, I think those Mickey medals are collectible items, so I think you should keep that Mickey medal. I think you just need to take Asher on again, to compete. And even if he's walking at that time, just tell him he has to crawl it.
I'm sure that'll work. I'm sure I won't get it.
I'm sure he'll listen. Yeah. Well, I think, as we said, as you said, the secret is dad has to be the one to release with mom on the other side, holding up whatever fun stuff that the baby might want. I think if we ever tried that competition, that would be the method we would have to go as well. So sorry, Brian.
Well, Alex, I'm curious, can you also speak a little bit about the special touches and extras that Disney will provide in the room for an infant? And I'd be curious to know what kind of room you sail in or have sailed in with an infant.
The first time we went, we brought my parents, and they had the girls in their room. Mm-hmm. And so there was 4 in their room, and then we had 3 in our room. And so it was just him on the side so we just had a normal size cruise ship. And that was on Fantasy. We got one of those extended decks, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Right in the middle of the ship on level 5. And then this last time on the Magic, there was only a certain amount of staterooms that are available that you can put 5 people in. And basically it was actually on the concierge level next to the concierge rooms. Mm-hmm. And so when our travel agent booked it, I was like, wait, I'm looking at reviews. I think you might have gotten us into concierge. And she was like, I promise it's not concierge. And I was like, it looks like it is.
Yeah. So on deck 8 on the Magic and the Wonder, the concierge rooms and regular rooms are kind of mixed together in that, versus on the Dream and Fantasy and even Wish, like the concierge rooms are kind of in separate areas with sort of one exception on the Wish. But yeah, so they are interspersed. Although I will tell you, the room you had may now be a concierge room because they did convert on the Magic some of those rooms on the Magic to concierge. Yeah, but you would have paid concierge prices, Alex. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. So basically, it's a normal size stateroom, veranda size stateroom, but then it'll have another 3 feet of space for the pack and play to sit in, and then it has the veranda, the normal size veranda. Yeah. And so we were able to put everybody in there. Though I think they won't let you book a 5-person room with a baby, like a normal size room, even though I think he could have fit just fine in front of the girls' bunk beds, but they wouldn't let us do it. So it was very specific what room we had to have. So I'm trying to convince grandparents to come with us again so that we can do it.
Get the smaller room. Yeah, you can get the slightly smaller room. Now, tell me, they provide the pack and play and the sheets, I assume, for the baby.
Yeah,
but are there any other things?
One trick that we did was we took that quilt off of the front of the main bed and folded that up under the sheet and then put the sheet over it to give them a little bit of extra padding, because the pack and play is, I don't think it's really meant to be a crib for a whole week. But so we did that. If you ask, when we did this the first time, he was just drinking milk the second time, so we didn't really need to. But the first time they would give you a bottle sterilizer that you could use, and then I'm blanking. But they have several other things that you normally. Without us even asking, they gave us a diaper genie.
Oh, nice.
For those of you who don't know what those are, basically it's a trash can that pinches the smell closed when you drop the diaper in, and I never had to empty it, so I assume that the stateroom hosts were taking care of that also.
Oh, that's a really nice benefit.
Yeah, so
because I remember having to empty those, and they're not fun. They're stinky.
Yeah, and then of course I think we could order room service and get milk delivered. The kid, if Asher's asleep and taking a nap, we can order room service and then have a glass of wine on the porch or on the veranda. We could get ourselves a cheese platter and pretend we're having a date when really we're just nap trapped. So,
nice.
Or one of us goes out and has fun while the other one just sits there.
Well, but that's the benefit of a veranda, right? I mean, if the baby's napping, you can at least sit out on the veranda and enjoy the scenery, even if you can't leave the room.
I don't want to say for sure, but they didn't mind that we brought the monitor with us. Like that wasn't one of the no electronic devices. At least they didn't tell us not when they went through our luggage. So we would have them. We could even shut the veranda door so we didn't wake him up and just listen to the monitor on the deck if it wasn't too loud outside from the wind.
Oh, that's very smart. I wouldn't have thought of that. I'm guessing it probably didn't have much range for you to leave in the other direction.
A lot of monitors will go up to, they say 900,000 meters, but I'm assuming that's direct line of sight. I don't know how it would go through the walls. We didn't try to wander off from him. I may consider trying to do a split room stay, with, the baby and one adult in one room and the girls and the other adult in a room. And then we could put the baby down in one room with the adjoining door and have the monitor in the other room. I'm sure it would work fine because it's working all the way across our house right now.
Yeah.
So
nice. Well, Alex, we appreciate you taking the time to come on and share all of your expertise around sailing with infants on board, the youngest of the Disney cruisers. Hopefully, is it your son or your daughter, Alex? Who's the infant?
Son, Asher.
Son, Asher.
Son is the baby. And then I got 2 daughters.
Yeah.
So hopefully Asher will be a Platinum Castaway Club member soon, well on his way to Pearl. But we just appreciate you taking the time to share this info with us. Do you want to let folks know where they can find and connect with you if they want to follow your travels, read your blog post about the It's a Small World nursery, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I started a blog called Second Dad to the Right, and I talk about cruising with family, and I talk about going to the parks at Walt Disney World with family right now because we live in Atlanta, so it's only a 7-hour drive for us. In fact, now that we have the baby, Mom flies, and I can like on Spirit for like $30 with the baby, and I drive all the luggage with the girls.
So the baby doesn't have to be in the car for all that time.
And because Mom also needs to take lots of bathroom breaks too. So we send them, and it cuts down our travel time by like 2 hours.
I'm the one who, when we are in a long car ride, who makes us stop every 5 minutes for the bathroom as well. So I sympathize.
So I started the blog. I'm a pastor. I mentioned that, and so I've spent a long time knowing how to explain things to people and making it funny along the way so they'll pay attention. And so it worked out really well with blogging that I can do that. People ask, like, a lot of friends come to me wanting to know like tricks and tips for dealing with kids and everything for going to Disney. So I started writing about it. So you can go to seconddadtotheright.com, or you can find me on Facebook at Second Dad to the Right, or Instagram at Second Dad to the Right. But mostly I'm trying to build out long form blog posts, helpful stuff like how to handle It's a Small World, how to go on your first Disney cruise, how to my oldest daughter, who's about to turn 10, she wrote her favorite rides for each park.
Oh, nice.
I've sent to some people when they're asking about, what ride should I take my kids on? I was like, well, here's the perspective of a 9-year-old. So if you got a 9-year-old, try this one out.
I love it. You also have a blog post on packing for Disney cruise. You have blog posts on tips for first timers. So you have lots of great Disney Cruise Line content as well. I would just, for our listeners out there, so and some really cute and funny pictures of you and your family out there cruising and out there at the parks. In particular, one that I enjoyed of Asher dressed what would look like for formal night, but as you said in your blog post, there is no formal night within the It's a Small World nursery, despite his outfit to the contrary. So,
did you see the eyebrow pictures?
I did also see the eyebrow pictures. It was an April Fool's.
Yeah, so our first day of sailing was April Fool's, so my wife thought it'd be funny to color his eyebrows with a eyeliner. Yeah. And so every time we're going through security, everyone's like, "Oh, hi!" And they look down at the baby and they're like, try not to insult the baby. And then we just say April Fools, and they would start laughing when they realized what was happening. But they couldn't figure out why this kid had this like crazy unibrow when all the rest of us didn't have dark eyebrows.
It is a really cute picture.
It was so funny.
Well, thanks again so much, Alex, for coming on the show and for letting our listeners know where they can find you and follow you on your travels. But we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.